All right, welcome back to Keep It 100. Today we're going to be talking about pit master Rodney Scott. This brother is located in Charleston, South Carolina. Man, he pretty much started his own barbecue business from the ground up, literally out of a house, and the pit was like a garage, and he worked real hard, a lot of hard work and dedication, man. He built a reputation for himself that allowed him to become one of the noticed as one of the best pit masters in the United States. And it didn't come easy because he worked hard as far as quality, and discipline as far as making a good product. And the thing that's real interesting about this guy is the fact that he, like I say, he reinvested his money and time into his passion, and was able to grow from a small little hole in the wall business to a major barbecue company. And they actually have two locations. One's in Charleston, South Carolina, and one is in Atlanta. And they have one in Alabama, and one is coming to Atlanta soon. So go ahead, check them out, man. And like I say, the most important thing is that to be learned from this is that this person is very passionate about what he does, has high qualities, and he reinvests in his business to grow his business to a much bigger level. And I think that's pretty awesome. So you guys go ahead, check him out. I put the information to his restaurant if you guys are ever in Charleston, South Carolina. Check him out, man. All right, y'all, enjoy the video.
I was standing up front one night about 3 a.m. Guy came through. He said, "Hey man, what's going on?" I said, "Nothing. How you doing?" He said, "Can't get nothing less than at least a pound." He said, "A pound?" Then he looked up at the sign and saw the sign said Scott's Barbecue, and he was like, "Oh man, forget it." I said, "What'd you think I was trying to sell you?" And he just drove off. Big old misunderstanding, I'm assuming. I'm Rodney Scott, pitmaster of Scott's Barbecue, and we're in Hemingway, South Carolina. When I was younger, I was quite interested in what was going on with the barbecue. And I would always watch and look and watch and look. Then one day my dad told me, he was like, "Listen, I need you to cook this pig." And I was 11 years old at the time. So I had to actually keep my own wood in the barrel. I had to go scoop it up with the shovel, and I had to put the heat under the pig. And my first pig at 11 years old came out just right. In the beginning, it was a garage, and my dad decided he wanted to cook a hog one day, and a few of the customers were passing through and they tasted it. It was like, wow, this is really good. And the demand started to get more and more and more, so he added another hog and he added another. And we eventually had to convert the garage over into a pit where we're cooking maybe 5, 10 hogs a night.
Nothing like a pig. Barbecue pig is what I come up on, and that's all I know.
To me, barbecue is doing a whole hog. To me, I think of it. That's barbecue.
When you say barbecue around here, we're talking about real pit cooked barbecue. When I say real pit cooked barbecue, I'm talking the actual wood. I'm so sure that we use just wood because we go out and cut it ourselves.
My name is Jim Woods. You're in Stuckey, South Carolina. Over the weekend, we had a major storm that came through the area and knocked down my 70-year-old pecan tree. I got in touch with Rodney yesterday. They're down here today and they're cutting it up. And the only thing that Rodney will leave is probably the stump itself when he's finished up with it. It was a loss to me, but it was a benefit, hopefully, to the people that eat the barbecue at Scott's Barbecue.
There's no middleman, there's no delivery guy, it's just me, the chainsaw. We'd rather go get it ourselves so we know what we're working with. So every week we go out, get the old truck started, get the chainsaws together, go get what we need to put the flavor in what we do. Kind of like a chef picking out his tomatoes in the garden. I pick my own trees fresh out of the woods. Yep. There ain't no other way. After cutting the tree down, we do everything manually. So you have to pick up the wood by hand, load it into the truck, And this goes on until the truck is full. Then we bring it in, we drop it here on the yard. Next thing, we have to crank up the log splitter, split all the pieces that we got. We got a little 14 and a half horse engine with the hydraulic cylinder connected to a hydraulic pump. This hydraulic cylinder goes down and slowly splits the wood to this point where it's small enough to handle and burn, which makes it burn easier, faster. Right here, this is the main heat source. This is what we call a burn barrel, which is made out of an old drum that was used at some point for fuel or whatever it may be back in the day. And we torched it out, made a doorway as you see, and we took old truck axles that were no longer any good for a truck and kind of crisscrossed them in there to hold the wood until the embers fall in the bottom.
After building the fire, while the fire is getting ready, you put the pig on the pit. And after you put the pig on, when the coal get ready, then you stop putting the coal under the hole.
We take a shovel, scoop it in there, scoop up what we need, take it on the inside, and we have an open door at each pit where we go under with the shovel and spread the heat at both the ham and the shoulders. Nowhere else. And all the heat meets in the middle. You hear folks all over say they use the wood, but then they say they use wood chips, or they may use a few pieces of wood that they might smoke for a little bit. This right here, all wood, nothing else. 100% wood, nothing but wood. Cut, chop, cook. It's all right here in the wood. When we're scooping up the embers and taking them in with the shovel, we're actually just slow roasting the meat, kind of cooking it slowly for 8 to 12 hours to make sure everything, the smoke simmers through, the real flavor of the wood gets locked in, and the meat is cooked all the way through. It's about 4 a.m. now. These pigs have been on since about 4:15 yesterday afternoon. We're about to flip them over, season them up, crisp the skin, get them ready to eat. The flipping is a process where the pig is actually face down on the grill, and there's a rack up under them. We take another rack, put on top, one person gets on the other end and one on this end, and we hold it tight. And then we pick it up, twist it over, and lay it right back down. So it looks simple, but it's actually a little bit more difficult than it seems. And once you do that, you go ahead and you shake your seasonings, whatever it may be, and we add a little heat to it, make sure everything is nice and warm while we're doing it, crisping the skins all at the same time, and then we mop it. And the mopping process is kind of like putting your sauce on in a gigantic way, where most folks use a little brush on the grill, we use like a mop. Our sauce, it's a vinegar pepper based sauce. Quite a few people think that it's mustard here, but mustard is really upstate from here. And from where we are, from Columbia on back, the PD region, we're mostly vinegar pepper based. Because a lot of places you get meat where they serve you the pork and give you the sauce to add to it. Here, we try to break it up so that when you turn your meat over, you still have color, flavor, texture, everything is already in. When I'm carrying the flashlight and I'm putting that extra heat up under there, I'm actually crisping the skin. When we're doing the skins, we try to keep an eye on it. We're waiting on that perfect pucker, like what you see here. This is the skin starting to get crisp right here. And then we're trying to get that to get an even tone of this all over the entire pig. We'll take the crunchiest part of this and we'll sell it to customers by request. The rest of it, we'll take it and fry it up a little bit and bag it and have what we call the big skins, which are like our homemade skins. Kind of like a processed pork skin that you would see like in bags, but better. That sign says barbecue 9:30 a.m. Respect that. And the reason I put that sign up because we're here all night and we have folks waking up as early as 3:30, 4 a.m. and they want the barbecue so bad that they knock on the door, they pull on the door, they try to tear the door open, they knock, they yell, they scream, they get mad, you know, just to try to get it before 9:30. Once we take it in on the rack, we kind of put it on the table, and once it's on the table, my mom takes all of the bones out, separates the fat from the lean, the bones from the skin, all of that good stuff. And once separated, she fixes up whether it's a pound or 2 pounds, 3 pounds, whatever the customer wants.
I'm doing the hog up now. I'm taking it apart and taking the bones out of it. Separating the bones from the meat. It's tender enough, I don't have to have a knife. You just pull it apart.
It's like visiting a national landmark, you know. They're not gonna bring it to you. You just gotta go and see what it's like. And in our case, you just gotta come out, take that drive to Hemingway and see what we're like.
I came from all the way about 45 miles from here. And I said, well, I better ask my wife today. I said, you want some barbecue? She said, yeah, I was thinking about the same thing too. So I said, well, okay, well, let's ride to Hemingway then.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I was up here on some business, but every time I'm here, I always stop by if it's a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, whenever they're open, and try and get some good barbecue.
I'm getting ready to go to Tampa, so my son lives in Miami. He wanted some barbecue, so he told me to come by and pick him up some, and then I got some for my daughter living in Tampa.
I'm from Mullins, South Carolina, and I was coming back from Charleston and been coming up here for years, and thought about it, and so I stopped by and get myself a pound, get my 2 sons a pound each.
I ordered 4 pounds of barbecue.
Now, wait, is that because it's Friday night and you're going to take it home to the family?
No, I ordered that because that's what I wanted.
The barbecue spare rib is a cut that I've enjoyed my entire life, and I have a very intimate relationship with barbecue, spare ribs, and pork. I'm Rodney Scott, owner at Rodney Scott's Barbecue in Charleston, South Carolina, and I love spare ribs. Southern backyard style of barbecue is basically when you are cooking with what you have around. You have your wood, you have a grill, and you just invite people over and cook and eat. Growing up on a farm here in South Carolina, we had a celebration every year at the end of the year with a whole hog. And the spare rib definitely represents the way that I grew up, the way that my family made the ribs, because it was basically cut directly out of the hog and cooked straight into the fire. I think I remember having my first spare rib when I was about 8 years old. We were cooking at home in the yard and some ribs were on the table. It was tender, it was juicy, some of them had a bite to them, and it was always my favorite part. Rodney Scott's Barbecue is basically a simple backyard style of barbecue where we cook with wood and hot coals and cooking barbecue and spare ribs. And that's what I grew up doing it for 35 years. It's just been one of my favorite parts. The barbecue spare rib represents my dedication to my entire life of cooking the whole hog. My style of sauce is a vinegar-based sauce. It's basically white vinegar and pepper and lemons that we like to use. It helps with the flavor and the texture of the whole product that we're putting sauce on. First thing we do is we add white vinegar to the pot. We're gonna add whole slices of lemon just to give it a little citrus to the flavor. We wanna bring the vinegar to a simmer so it can take some of the bitterness out so it won't be so strong. Once the vinegar simmers, we'll add the peppers. We'll add the black pepper and we'll add the cayenne. Then we add the secret spices, and that finishes off everything, and we let it cook for a hot second just to make sure everything marries in the pot. Secret spices came in from a family tradition, and when I moved to Charleston, I'd add just a slight twist to it. We remove it from the heat because if not, the peppers and everything will flow to the bottom, and if it's still cooking, it will stick and burn. Once the sauce is cooled down, now we go and start prepping our spare ribs. The spare ribs that we use are pretty much a 10 to 12 bone spare rib. We get all of our spare ribs from local hogs. The first thing that we do is we remove the membrane from the spare rib so that we can let all of our secret rub and spices get into the meat. We grab our special rub and we sprinkle it all over the spare rib. We turn it over and we sprinkle it on both sides. The special rub is basically some paprika, a little bit of cayenne pepper, a little bit of black pepper, some kosher salt, and several other secret ingredients. We don't really rub it too much into the meat because the rub is kind of intense, so we don't want it to be over salted. We take the spare rib and we put it on the pit with the thickest part of the spare rib towards the center of the pit. We take the mop and we mop it with the sauce. We use the mop simply because that's what I grew up doing, that's what I'm accustomed to, and it's a lot easier to use the mop. It covers the whole rib just about in one stroke. Once the ribs have been mopped, then we flip them over. We flip them over because we want to cook the other side to get that equal char, nice smoky flavor. But what we're looking for is we want the bone to start protruding, to stick out just a little bit. To finish the rib, we mop the second side, and then we flip it back over again to make sure that everything is done and everything's tender, and the rib starts to bend when it's done. Once they're at that perfect tenderness, we pull them off because they're ready to serve. The collard greens I grew up were not my favorite, so I had to add a little twist to them just to enjoy them. First, we add butter to our pot, get our butter hot, get it going. We add our onions and garlic, and we like to saute them so that all the flavors can marry. Then we add our pulled pork, and the pulled pork gives it that smoky feel from the meat and the little bit of spicy flavor that the sauce had. Then we add our water to the pot just before adding our spices, and the spices give them a nice flavor, a nice aroma, and then we start adding the greens. Once we add our greens, we cook everything to a simmer. Of course, we stir our pot to make sure all the greens are fully cooked. We let the greens cook until they're at that perfect tenderness, not too long where they're overcooked, but just perfectly enough to have just a tiny bite to them. When you order the plate of spare ribs here, we'll give you a full plate of meat and a healthy serving of collards. We're gonna take the rack of ribs and we're gonna slice them bone to bone. That means every bite you'll be able to pick up one bone and have meat on each one. We're gonna place the ribs on a plastic tray that's covered with butcher paper, and we're gonna stack them where you can just easily grab them, and no rib is too far. Next, we'll put the collard greens in our paper boat and lay on the side right next to the ribs. You get your own side of Rodney sauce, add it to the plate, and we serve it with 2 slices of white bread. White bread has been a big staple in the South for me, where everything that we ate, once there was meat, there was simple white bread. We add the white bread to the tray, and there you have Rodney Scott's spare ribs and collard greens. The spare ribs are smoked over the pit, direct hot coals, and the texture has just a slight bark on it, but there's still a tenderness. So when you bite into the rib, you get a slight tug, but not so soft that it falls off the bone. The flavor is unique because it's a low smoke. It's a vinegar sauce that's wrapped around it, along with that oaky and hickory type flavor that's all wrapped in. When you bite into the collard greens, you get a nice little texture that's not overcooked, but not too crunchy. I love sharing spare ribs with the people that come in and enjoy my barbecue. With the spare rib, it goes way back to just enjoying ribs and the different styles and flavors that I've enjoyed my entire life. Being the person behind this barbecue is pretty much representing the person who I am.
Now, wait, is that because it's Friday night and you're going to take it home to the family?
No, I ordered that because that's what I wanted.
Yeah.